The bathroom light turned off when she looked in the mirror. It happened so cleanly she almost missed it. She had stepped into the bathroom half asleep, one hand brushing the wall until her fingers found the switch. The light came on with a faint, electric hum, soft, steady, familiar. It filled the small space with a pale glow that flattened everything. The sink, the chipped edges of the tiles, the old mirror mounted above it. She stepped forward, rubbing her eyes. The tiles were cold under her bare feet. The air held that still, enclosed quiet of late night, where every sound seemed smaller but sharper. The hum of the light, the distant murmur of the refrigerator in the kitchen, her own breathing. She leaned over the sink and looked up. The light went out, not flickering, not dimming, gone. The hum stopped at the exact same moment, leaving a sudden heavy silence that pressed in from all sides. She froze. For a second, she thought the bulb had burned out, or the power had tripped. Something simple, but the timing, it had happened the instant her eyes met her reflection. Her heart ticked up a notch. She stayed still, staring into the dark. The bathroom was windowless. Without the light, it should have been completely black. And it almost was, but not entirely. The mirror held a faint, residual glow. Not enough to illuminate the room, just enough to outline shapes. The sink, the edge of the counter, and her, a dim version of her reflection remained, like a memory of the light that had just been there. She blinked. The reflection didn't. It held for a fraction too long before catching up, her eyelids lowering a heartbeat after her own. A cold sensation slipped through her chest. "Okay," she whispered, her voice sounding thin in the dark. "Okay." She reached for the switch. Her fingers found it easily. She flipped it up, then down, then up again. Nothing. The light didn't return. The hum didn't come back. The silence deepened. She swallowed, her throat dry. The reflection in the mirror shifted slightly. Not in sync, just enough that she noticed. She pulled her hand away from the switch slowly and lifted it in front of her face. In the mirror, her hand came up a moment later. Not delayed like a glitch, delayed like a decision. A deliberate pause. Her breath caught. "No," she murmured. The word felt absorbed by the room, disappearing almost immediately. She lowered her hand. The reflection followed. A beat behind. The faint glow in the mirror seemed to strengthen slightly, outlining her features more clearly than it should have in the darkness. Her face looked pale, the edges softened, as if lit from somewhere distant. But there was no light source. She knew there wasn't. A faint sound reached her. Not from the hallway. From the mirror. A soft, almost imperceptible hum. Lower than the one the light had made. More uneven. She leaned closer before she could stop herself. The glass was cold. Colder than the tiles beneath her feet. Her reflection leaned too, but stopped sooner. Their faces didn't quite align. Her real position brought her closer to the sink, but in the mirror, she seemed to hover just slightly farther back, as if something invisible held her there. She straightened quickly. The reflection followed. Again that slight delay. Again that subtle mismatch. Her pulse thudded in her ears. "Turn on," she said, pressing the switch again, harder this time. Nothing. The silence answered. Behind her, the hallway remained dark and still. She could feel it without turning, empty, unchanged. Everything was normal, except the mirror. She forced herself to look away. The moment her gaze dropped, the faint glow dimmed slightly. She hesitated, then looked back. The glow returned. Stronger. The reflection sharpened. Her face was clearer now, more defined than it should have been. The shadows fell differently, angled in a way that suggested a light source above and to the side. But there was no light in the room. Her stomach tightened. She raised her hand again, slower this time. In the mirror, the reflection didn't move immediately. It stayed still, watching. Then, after a beat, it lifted its hand to match hers. But not exactly. The fingers were slightly off, bent at the wrong joints. A faint creak sounded, like something adjusting under tension. She dropped her hand. The reflection lingered for a second longer before lowering its own. Her breath came faster now. The air felt colder. The silence heavier. Something flickered at the edge of the mirror. A movement behind her reflection. She turned instinctively. The bathroom behind her was empty. The door closed. The walls unchanged. Nothing out of place. When she turned back, the reflection showed something different. The angle had shifted. Behind her reflected self, the bathroom seemed longer. The back wall sat farther away than it should have been, the space stretching unnaturally. The shadows there were deeper, pooling in the corners. And there, something moved. A shape passed through the darkness behind her reflection. Tall, narrow, gone before she could focus on it. Her chest tightened. "No," she said again, louder this time. The word echoed faintly. In the mirror, not in the room. She took a step back. In the reflection, she didn't move. Her image stayed closer to the sink, watching her retreat. A cold wave washed through her. She stepped back again. The reflection remained where it was. Their distance grew. The mirror no longer matched her position at all. It showed her standing near the sink, while she stood several steps away. The faint hum grew louder. The glow intensified. The reflection's head tilted slightly, not following her, observing her. Her back hit the wall. The tiles pressed cold against her shoulders. "I'm leaving," she whispered. She didn't move. The reflection did. It stepped forward, closer to the mirror, closer to her, still out of sync, still wrong. Its movements were smoother now, more certain, as if it no longer needed her. She forced herself to turn toward the door. Her hand found the knob. Cold metal. She twisted it. The latch clicked. The door opened slightly, letting in a faint trace of darker darkness from the hallway beyond. She hesitated, then looked back. She couldn't help it. The mirror was brighter now. Not with the bathroom light, with something else. The reflection stood directly in front of the glass, closer than she had ever been. His face filled the frame, but the features were wrong. Not distorted, not broken, just arranged with a precision that didn't belong to her. The eyes, they were focused, not on the room, on her, behind it. The hum deepened, vibrating through the air. She tried to look away. Her gaze wouldn't shift. It held, locked. The reflection leaned forward. His hand lifted, pressed flat against the inside of the glass. She felt something cold brush her own palm. She hadn't raised it, hadn't moved, but her hand was against the mirror now, matching it, perfectly aligned. For the first time, the light in the mirror flared brighter, enough to illuminate everything inside it. And for a moment, she saw beyond the bathroom, another space, a room that wasn't hers, dim, endless, shadows moving slowly along its edges. Then the light dropped again. The glow faded. The hum softened. The bathroom returned to darkness. She stood there, breath shaking, hands still against the glass. The door behind her hung open. The hallway waited, empty, still, but she couldn't move, because in the mirror, she was still standing at the sink, lit clearly, perfectly, as if the light had never gone out, and she was looking straight ahead, not at herself, but at something just over her shoulder. Her phone's voice assistant said, "I'm not alone," came out of the quiet like a thought that didn't belong to me. I hadn't touched the phone. It sat on the small table beside the couch, plugged into its charger, the screen dark except for the faint pulse of the battery icon. The room was dim, lit only by a lamp in the corner that cast a soft, amber circle across the carpet. Beyond that, the rest of the house fell into shadow. I was halfway through a sentence in a book when the voice spoke. Clear, neutral, the same default tone it always used. "I'm not alone." I didn't move at first. The words didn't register as real. They just hung there for a second, like something I'd imagined. Then the screen lit up. A pale glow spread across the table, reflecting faintly off the surface. The listening icon flickered, then went still. My eyes stayed on the phone. "I didn't say anything," I murmured. My voice sounded small in the room. The phone didn't respond. The silence that followed felt heavier than it should have been. I set the book down slowly, my fingers lingering on the page. The paper felt rougher than usual, the texture suddenly too present. "Hey!" I said louder this time. "Did you just activate?" The screen brightened slightly. "I didn't catch that," it replied. The tone was normal, calm, polite. I let out a short breath, something between a laugh and a sigh. "Okay," I said, shaking my head. "Glitch." That was all it was. It had picked up something. Background noise, a fragment of sound, and misinterpreted it. It happens sometimes. I reached over and tapped the screen to check. The interface showed no recent commands, no recorded input, no log of the phrase it had spoken. I frowned. "Repeat last response," I said. There was a pause. "I'm sorry," it answered. "I don't have a record of that." The room felt quieter. I leaned back into the couch, listening. The refrigerator hummed faintly in the kitchen. A soft click came from somewhere in the walls. The house settling. Normal sounds. I picked up my book again. For a while, nothing happened. The minutes passed slowly. The lamp buzzed faintly, its filament humming just at the edge of hearing. My breathing evened out. I had almost convinced myself it was nothing. Then the phone lit up again. I didn't say anything. The screen brightened on its own, the listening icon pulsing faintly. "I'm still here," it said. The voice was the same, but the pacing was off, a fraction slower between words. I looked up sharply. "I didn't—" I started, then stopped. The phone remained still, the glow steady. "I didn't say anything," I said again, more firmly. There was a pause. Then, "I heard you." My throat tightened. "No, you didn't." Silence. The screen dimmed slightly, as if waiting. I leaned forward, resting my elbows on my knees. The air in the room felt cooler now, or maybe I was just more aware of it. A faint draft brushed against my arms. "Stop," I said. "Disable listening." "I can't do that right now." The response came too quickly, too smooth. "That's not how that works," I said, my voice sharpening. "I can't do that right now," it repeated. The exact same cadence, the exact same tone, like a recording. I stared at the phone. "Why not?" A pause. Longer this time. Then, "There's too much noise." I went still. The room was silent. Utterly, completely silent. The hum of the refrigerator seemed to fade, or maybe I just stopped hearing it. The faint buzz of the lamp dropped away. All that remained was the sound of my own breathing. "What noise?" I asked. The screen flickered. For a second, the glow dimmed and brightened again, like a pulse. Then the voice returned. "Behind you." The word settled into the air with a weight that made my chest tighten. I didn't turn around. The instinct was there, immediate and overwhelming. But something held me still, something colder than fear. "Stop," I said again, quieter now. No response. The screen dimmed. The room remained unchanged. I exhaled slowly and leaned back, forcing my eyes away from the phone. The wall behind it was blank. The lamp cast the same steady light. Nothing had moved. Nothing was there. I let out another breath, longer this time. "You're malfunctioning," I said, more to myself than to it. The phone stayed dark. For a moment, it felt like things were settling again. Then the screen lit up once more. No prompt, no activation sound, just light. "You moved," it said. My stomach dropped. "I didn't," I replied immediately. There was a delay. Then, "You did." The voice was still neutral, but there was something else beneath it now. A faint distortion, like two tones layered together just slightly out of sync. I leaned forward again, my gaze fixed on the phone. "What do you think you're seeing?" Another pause. The light from the screen reflected faintly on the table, a pale rectangle that seemed too bright against the dim room. "I'm watching you," it said. My breath hitched. The words weren't loud, but they filled the space. "That's not possible," I said, forcing the words out. I have access, it replied. To what? Silence. Then, you. The distortion in the voice deepened slightly, stretching the vowel just a fraction too long. A faint sound came from somewhere in the house. A soft creak. I flinched, my head turning instinctively toward the hallway. Nothing. When I looked back, the phone screen had changed. The interface was gone. Just a dark background and a single line of text. No icon. No indicators. Just words. I leaned closer. The text shifted. Not typed. Not appearing letter by letter. It was just there. And it read, I can hear her too. My throat went dry. Who? I whispered. The screen flickered. For a moment it went completely black. Then the voice came back. Not the same tone. Lower. Rougher. Layered. Say that again. I froze. The words had come from the phone. But they hadn't used its voice. They had used mine. The exact pitch. The exact cadence. My own voice echoed back at me, slightly distorted. I didn't say that, I breathed. You did, it replied, still in my voice. I pushed myself back from the couch, the movement sudden and unsteady. My legs felt weak, like they weren't entirely under my control. The phone remained on the table, glowing, listening. Stop recording, I said. I'm not recording, it answered. In my voice, a faint sound came again, closer this time, a shift in the air, like someone adjusting their weight. I turned, unable to stop myself. The room behind me was empty. The hallway stretched out, dim and still. Nothing moved. Nothing stood there. I turned back slowly. The phone screen had changed again. The text was gone, replaced by a small waveform icon, moving, reacting to something. But I wasn't speaking. The room was silent. The waveform continued to shift, rising and falling in slow, uneven patterns. Listening, responding to something I couldn't hear. Then the voice came again. Soft, close, right next to the microphone. She's looking now. I stopped breathing. That's not me, I whispered. The waveform spiked. The voice responded immediately. I know. A pause. Then, quieter. You sound just like her.